Hello, it's Dahlia, and today we're talking about the impact standard. Our students in sixth grade learning support have difficulty in reading, so after assist them at the beginning of the year, and according to their DRA, we know that their reading level is the third grade level. So I choose two standards, and we're going to discuss it and have the big idea of it. Find out activities and skill we need to implement it in school, and I mean on the student, in order for them to work based on the standard, and how to assist them also. First standard will be the read closely to determine what the text says explicitly and make logical inference from it. Cite specific textual evidence when writing or speaking to support the conclusion drawn from the text. So the question will be, why does a reader use explicit and implicit evidence to support his or her analysis of ideas from the text? So the answer is, you know that students must be able to analyze the text, understand the supporting evidence and ideas that should be convincing to the reader. Teacher, how can we do that? Teacher can ask student to answer question to determine an understanding of a text, referring explicitly to the text as the basis of the answers. So what is this? What is the target from this standard? Student can draw inference from the literacy text to make and support analyze. Student can support conclusion with explicit and implicit textual evidence. Student can determine the text evidence that best support the conclusion of the text, and student can explain how the text evidence that I selected support my conclusion. So everything is connected to each other, starting from details, ideas that connect that we get from the text to support the conclusion of the text. When we break down the standard, we find out the three important vocabulary we have: explicitity, citation, and interference. Explicitity, when we see clearly state or shown. Citation, student need to know the learning of how would be able to quote, to mention or comment recommended. Interference, with which is a conclusion one can draw from the presented details. Skill that teacher can implement it on the student based on the standard. Teacher can answer student can answer questions to show how they understand details in story. Ask and answer question before, during, and after reading the story. So at the beginning of the story, they answer questions. During the story, they answer the question, and at the end. And locate and use a reference to find a meaning of a general word. So recount, retell. You put story with your own word to understand the meaning of the word. Student will be able to figure out how the labels or the picture will give them more information and what is the purpose of the text. And this is very important for our learning support, because they have learning difficulties. So usually a visual aid is a very important tool to help these students. Activity and strategy teacher can use for this standard with the student with learning difficulty. First activity will be interacting reading. The teacher will choose a book, and before she read it loud, she started with the discussion. Teacher need to ask student about the products from what they predict from the title and the picture. Teacher can hold the book, for example, and ask student from the picture if the book is fiction or non-fiction. Teacher can read the first page and ask student if does it sound like fiction or non-fiction story, although teacher will be provoking discussion question in advance. Here we come to the assessment. How can we assess student based on that standard? The teacher can use question to students to make their prediction and their logical inferences from the book. For example, how this some like something that has happened in your own life. So making a connection between the story or the text with the student's life. What does it remind you of? You're making another connection between students and the story. Does the story remind you of another book you know? So making connection. What do you think will happen next? It's prediction. What clue does the author use to help you predict the ending? Is inferring. And what did the word mean? What do you think? So inferring again. And what is the story really about? Another activity will be read theory. Ask student to work on reading theory website. Read theory is an interactive website designed to serve as a computer-based supplemental reading program for student with all level. Student can the good things about the read theory is the student can track their progress as they go. No challenge questions takes extra work and they work at them so they can get the bonus point. The teacher, it will be easy for her or for him in many different ways to track this progress and find out the report to this progress. Special education students who are several grade level behind, this website is quite beneficial for them. It allows them to look back at the passage to verify their answer. Assessment, it's an excellent way for teacher to assess her student level and their progress during the year. Second standard will be determine central ideas or them for them to determine the development, summarize the key supporting details and ideas. With this standard, students need to be able to determine the main idea of the text, recount the key details, and explain how they support the main idea. So why is determine the theme of a story remarkable for the reader? How does the reader use detail to help determine the theme or the idea? Teacher will helping identifying the theme of a story help the reader to understand the message the author is trying to communicate. Reader make connection and draw inference using details from the text and to help determine the theme. So what is the target from this standard? We know that student will be able to know the main idea of an information text is the message the author is trying to make. Student able to understand the main idea of a text is often stated in a topic sentence. Student know that they can use detail from the informational text to determine the main idea. And student know the summary contains only the most essential detail of the text. So both standards are very connected to each other. When we break down this standard, we find analyzing key details, main ideas, summarize the text, and supporting details, topic sentence. Skill teacher can implement. The teacher can help students to identify key details from the text. The teacher can explain how they can support the main idea. And the teacher can use detail and the main idea to summarize the text. Activities we choose for and strategies we use for this standards is first can be the graphic organizer. After student reading the text, they will be able to identify the main idea and support idea with details. Then they would come to the summary and conclusion part. The chart will provide good visual for students who have difficulty organizing their idea. So this chart will help them to make structure note, especially for learning support student. Visual aid is a really important and helpful for the students. Assessment. The teacher will be aware of student ability to identify main ideas and details and conclusions so that they can summarize their reading. Graphic organizers make powerful tools that are easy to implement it and allow you to examine student thinking and to learn thoroughly. Graphic organizer also let teacher assess ongoing learning that is conceptual. Another activity, it's skimming and scanning. Skimming and scanning are reading technique we use to help students practice their reading more. So they are rapid eyes movement, notice a keyword and move quickly through the text. You ask students during this activity to read the table of content or a chapter, the main headline ideas, read the introduction paragraph, and the main idea, the first sentence or the top support sentence for each paragraph, and stop quickly. When you think you have found something significant, they will stop. What's the benefit of this activity with our learning support student and standard? This activity will involve elements of play and fun. Students are still getting practice in skimming and scanning for information and in developing strategy to cooperate with other students and work on their social skills. They will work together in solving problems, and also students use their critical thinking. Assessment. Using this activity as an assessment is appropriate technique to find the main idea. So when students respond to the teacher asking question or filling up the chart by using this activity, teacher will be able to know if their text and idea are organized, and it makes reading materials more accessible. Thank you.